Hi, this is Benandorf, and today we will be playing Crusader Kings 2 newest expansion, The Old Gods. This expansion, which was released today, May 28th, 2013, includes a whole host of new features, including new technology system, an updated Rebels with a Cause system, as well as the new bookmark for 867, and of course the ability to play pagans. So, let's get started. As in through my survey, the what people overwhelmingly wanted me to play was a Norseman, and so I will be playing King Bagsec of Jylland. So, once again, let's get rolling. Can't wait to start raiding and pillaging all of our neighbors. Very quick load there. And before we unpause, let's just see sort of the world at large. It looks like, looking at religions, pagans are still very much in control here in year 867, with Catholics having most of Western Europe and Orthodox having basically just Western Turkey and Greece, Macedonia, and the Balkans. Miaphysites are here in Ethiopia, as they are in the 1066 start. West African pagans are, of course, in West Africa. And then there are Muslims in most of where they are in the 1066, as well as a decent chunk of Iberia. And last but not least, Zoroastrians are here in Persia. So, let's see what our neighbors are doing. Looks like Jylland is at war with Lothian and East Anglia. Might be worth trying to take some of that land. I think in the short term, though, it's definitely going to be the Irish islands that we will need to focus on and take so that we can expand, and then eventually take the rest of Denmark, Sweden, Norway, pretty much anything and anywhere at that point. Let's see. We do, however, have a bordering country that is not Catholic, which we don't really want to mess with the Catholics yet. East Francia would probably stomp us. I say probably, but most definitely. We have subjugation of Pomerania, or just conquest. I think that will be what I will start the game off with. This little island here has no allies and is Slavic rather than Norse, but we will try and change that once we take it. Right now we have our domain size is very, very small, only 2. Jeez. Probably due to pretty low stewardship and a wife that is terrible steward. So let's see if we can't get enough plot power here. No, nobody's really interested, so never mind. We'll cancel that already. But for now, we will just sit at the 3. But it would be nice to be able to gain a little bit more before the end of this current ruler's life. And looking at all these ambitions, becoming king of Denmark will be probably the ambition for his son, but for now, I would really like to improve my stewardship. So that will be the ambition I choose. And back to Rana, I will declare war for the conquest. Well, actually, before I do that, yes, plenty of levies for fleet, so conquest. I will raise all of my army. Is Finn part of... No, that's part of Zealand. And we'll raise just a few ships. We're going to need more than that. There we go. And we'll move these on over to the sound so that my Norsemen will be able to just jump on over into this island that we're trying to invade. I'm going to speed up the game a little bit. Oof, we have been called to arms. I will accept those. They probably won't affect us at all, but if it keeps our allies happy, that means that in the off chance that somebody tries to invade us, we will be a little bit stronger. Looks like that a preacher has shown up from East Francia. We have no interest in hearing about his Christian God and holy book, so I'm going to toss him into the dungeon and probably sacrifice him in the blot. And our army is now full size. Going to merge that army and then merge the navy. Ooh, I will want to replace the really bad general. And onward to Rana. We have engaged them in battle. And a complete wipeout of their troops. So now I'm just going to siege this down pretty quickly. Oof. They have allies here somewhere. Let's see if we can call in allies as well. And it looks like King Ivar the Boneless will be willing to join us. The silly cleric that we just tossed in the dungeon is asking for more suitable accommodations. So I'm just going to let him rot. No need to have him killed yet by putting him in the oblate. Oblate? I think it's oblate. But I'm definitely not going to put him on house arrest. And our ally has come to join us. Plus, we won a crushing victory against whoever is leading this. Someone that's helping out against our army, for whatever reason that may be. They probably were raiding, to be quite honest. No, it doesn't say that. They now get the title of raiders of whoever rather than army. So, perhaps he just decided to fight us for some reason. And East Anglia has capitulated to our ally, King Ivar. And the armies from Ostlander are just walking across all of our land for some reason. Because that's why they're fighting them, because they also want this island. Well, that's fine, they can want it, but they will not be taking it. We have successfully beaten them back, so at this point it's just a matter of sieging down the army, or sieging it down, and then it will be our little island. And we have successfully taken prisoner the queen, well, chiefess of this island, the count's wife, which we might be able to sell her back pretty cheaply. This was added in the Old Gods, I imagine just for pagans, but they will, when you finish a siege, you will often take prisoner one of the family members, or more than one of the family members, of whoever was defending the keep. So, for instance, the chiefess, or children, or anything like that, and toss them in your dungeons. We got a little bit of piety and a decent amount of gold from that siege. And it looks like the county of Rana is capitulating, so it is now ours. We get all of those titles, of course, plus the king of Ostlandet has had his war end, of course, because no longer has anything to war against. The county of Rana is now part of Jylland. So first, I'm going to go ahead and create a new vassal out of this temple. And now that that war's over, I'm going to toggle some looting and loot some of our neighbors. While that's happening, I'm going to check up on my council, which I probably should have done first, but it looks like we're in a pretty good place as far as who each of these counselors are. But I'm going to send to study technology over in Constantinople, because I feel like that's probably a very high-tech, relative to us anyways, place in the world. And the research, culture tech, and econ and military tech now no longer gives you an increase to the actual technology gain, but rather speeds up the spread. So for now, though, I'm going to send my seer to try and convert this newly taken island from Slavic to good old-fashioned Norse. And on the topic of technology, let's take a gander at the new technology screen. As you can see, there are 8 levels of each of these. There are 8 levels of each technology, and they've tweaked some of the effects, and I'm not really sure when each of those is supposed to be found. But when you get up enough technology points, which come from ruler attributes, a mix of learning and then either military power, what's the name of it? Yeah, martial, either martial, stewardship, or diplomacy. Wrong button. Which you can see the little icons here showing you that those are the attributes that will increase your tech speed. And once you get to, I believe it's about 100 for the first level, but it is, of course, affected by how far ahead or behind you are of the curve, neighbors, and all that other sort of things that would affect technology in the past. But now it's actually, the system is much like March of the Eagles in that you build up points and then spend them however you wish. So it's a little less passive. Couldn't have been any more passive, so I guess saying just a little less passive is a little bit of a misstatement. But on the whole, it seems to be a very interesting, or at least a lot better system than it used to be. So, let's get started. Year 1 is over and we've already taken some more land. But we are raiding, which means that this little icon here of the axe and torch will show up. And as long as we have an adequate amount of men, I'm not sure what the minimum would be. They will loot from the province down to whatever the protected level is, at which point the symbol will turn red and you move them on. So there they are. It's turning red. And any loot, if you are looting something that has a border with one of your countries, or with one of your counties, I guess, then you gain the money directly into your pocketbook. Whereas if you're abroad, which you can only loot when you're far off sea as Norse, but they will allow you to loot anything that's on either a river or a coast, at that point you have to load the army back into, or just have, I think it may just be stationed next to it, but if you need to have galleys stationed next to whichever province you're looting so that the money will be loaded back there, and then there is a maximum amount of loot that you can load onto each galley, and so onto each fleet, at which point if it's full you're going to have to take it back to port to empty the coffers and actually put that money into your bank account. To your treasury, I suppose. Banks are a little bit more of a newfangled idea. Also, while we're looking at new things, here is the Norse Faith, which shows if it's a red flag, the holy site is not held by the Norse, by a member of your faith. If it's green, it is, and then if you actually hold it, there's a little star next to the green flag. But it will show It affects the moral authority, depending on whether or not you have control, as well as successful invasions and county conquest and that sort of thing. Those happen on a shorter term. Those are like, they last for 5 years or something for each county you conquer and that kind of thing. Apparently, if you have temple holdings, these vassals can give you piety now on a monthly basis. But I'm not really sure. I haven't seen what those would be. Let's take a look. Oh, and yeah, disease strike the besieging army. But let's take a quick look at what some of these would do. Okay, Monastic School, which increases the cultural technology points now, as well as technology spread, and gives piety to the liege, apparently. As well as church, and it looks like that's just it. The church and monastic schools will both do that. Likewise, universities give economic technology points, and as you may have noticed, all of these prices have gone up a little bit. I believe that's because of higher possible levels of the construction tech, which means that in the long run, the prices will be about the same, but at the start of 867, everything is much more expensive. So yeah, by the end of it, construction 8, minus 25% to those costs. Alrighty, so let's keep on looting. And that was successful. Let's see, Slavic, so I'm going to move over to another of these that are neighboring my newly taken island. Something of note is that for, I guess, 6 months after you loot any province, regardless of whether you're at war or not, they can take hostile action against you, which means that they can fight your armies and they could even siege something if they are so inclined. Additionally, if you successfully siege down an enemy holding while you are looting, you will sometimes burn down buildings or even the holding itself, as well as getting a good chunk of money and lowering this loot protected by fort level, so allowing you to further loot the province. However, with our current size of this looting army, it's not very feasible to actually take any of these provinces or any of these holdings. Oh, and apparently our seer is complaining, or someone's complaining that our seer isn't that good. Let's see, she's got 14 and he has 17. Alright, I'll give him the seer position. Extra learning is never a bad thing, so I'm going to send him also to try and convert the newly taken island. A siege event, defending troops took a few losses. I'm just looting, I don't really care. But if it makes them happy, go for it. And another siege event, hurting us a little bit and hurting the enemy quite a bit. And the invasion of Lothian has been won by our ally, King Ivar. So let's take a look. It looks like, yeah, there's some more Norse in Great Britain now. And as I had said before, I will eventually get over there and invade bits of Ireland. But for now, I'm enjoying looting. And I could either wait another 144 days. I'll finish up and completely plunder this holding. The next holdings are much smaller, and so I could get quite a bit of money from it. A lot of opportunities for plunder and glory in England. So, it looks like we have to choose, where is Wessex and Mercia? Basically, from what I understand, this is an event that's, if you're not at war, and we're not quite to that point where we haven't been at war for long enough that we end up losing prestige, but if you're not at war, you can get some pretty big regiments and a lot of ships to prepare an invasion and attack a large duchy or kingdom over in somewhere else, in this case over in England. So let's see, It looks like Wessex may be the one that's a little easier to take than Mercia. But neither of them are quite easy. Well, especially since Wessex appears that they have recently had an issue, or they're currently at war with some other Norsemen. However, I get about 900 more men if I try and take Mercia, so I guess that's what I'll do. I imagine it also gives us the prepared invasion, which will, yep, preparing to invade. So before 22nd of August 870, I guess we can then have raised levies and all of that before we declare war. And so basically have all of my troops ready to attack. Oh, nope, we still can't if we have any raised levies. What a shame. Well, as soon as I'm done raiding over here... Oh, wow, and additional regiments. I guess that's what prepared invasion does. It just gathers up additional troops that cost you nothing, as well as ships, and readies them to go off to war. So, more men have arrived. In that case, I will wait until near the very end of this time to be able to get as many new troops as possible. But 225 men have joined, so welcome to them. Yeah, once I'm done looting over here, I'll probably just disband these levies. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and disband these galleys. I won't need them. But I put them back into port, of course, so that they don't lose any. Normally they lose... If you aren't in a port, or if you're not in homeland when you disband any levies, either ships or land units, you will lose a small percentage of those troops or galleys. But if they are in the homeland, they all just go back home to wherever it is they wanted to be. Wherever they came from, I should say. And some more ships have arrived. So, this is going to be quite the host. And we are almost done sieging here. There we go. Only got an extra 6 gold. And more men have shown up in Jylland. But only a few gold from sieging that. Probably not worthwhile in the long run. But now we're only about 70 days, or 60, either between 60 or I guess 72 days away from, something like that, probably 60 then, away from finishing up this next siege, as well as continuing to loot while we siege. So, in the long run, making more money from it. More men have shown up. Welcome, welcome, all of them. I'm going to combine these all into one stack. I will probably split them back up once I get to England, or at least once the long ships launch. And again, another 230 something. We looted 18 gold this time by finishing up looting this city, which is quite a bit more, but they have no protected loot anymore, so it'll take another 60 days, 2 months to siege down this temple, so I'll wait the 2 months and take that. And more showing up. They're showing up faster than I can combine them, but combining all the fleets, which we will have quite the fleet, much larger than we really need. What I'll probably do is send, and I'm going to merge these, I'm probably going to send this first army over so that it can wipe out any of the raised levies that may show up right after I declare war, and then come back over and pick up any levies and mercenaries, anything I can afford, basically. But speaking of money, I have some, so I'm going to spend it on a castle town, which will increase our income by 2 per year, and over the next 600 years, certainly pay back the 150 or so gold that it has cost me. And there we go, finish the looting there. So you're going to send them just back to Rana and then disband. Another 150-man regiment. It seems that the amount that show up decreases as time goes on. But I'm going to turn off the looting and then disband those levies. We have quite the army, considering how small the number of how small armies are at this point in time. 5,000 is an awful lot. We have one more year before we need to invade. So just going to keep waiting. Probably will start sometime early, like March or something, in 870. But and missed the 1 year mark there by a little bit. I thought I had it pause on the years, but I'm gonna have to stop there for today. We are currently in the midst of preparing an invasion to take a large chunk of what will one day be England, but for now is just sort of Great Britain in general, and have quite the army joined up. So check back soon for more Crusader Kings 2, The Old Gods.